Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Father endangers his kids to tell me off. Ends up calling the police on himself. A few weeks ago I was driving in my neighborhood playing Pokemon Go. Not while driving obviously. The end of my neighborhood has a poke stop that I collect items from every day, as you get bonus items if you collect from stops every day. This particular day was my 7th day, meaning I would get even more items and would start over from day 1 the next day. I drove to the stop, got the items, set my phone on my passenger seat and went home. The road I was driving on was 20 miles per hour, but I was going about 12-13 miles per hour. I drive up a small hill and turn a corner when a wild family appears, including the jerk dad. The wife, her friend and 3 kids walking by them stepped off to the side of the road to let me pass. But as I was going by, the jerk dad, who had a young boy about 3 to 4 years old in one arm and holding a Budweiser bottle in the other, important for later, actually stepped closer to my car and yelled something at me. As I had gotten into an accident recently and was trying to be as safe as possible, I stopped the car, rolled down my window and asked if he was alright. And the conversation went as follows. "Are you guys alright? Why did you do that?"
You see my family, right?
"Yes, what about him?"
You know you were driving too fast for this neighborhood, right?
I should point out that I live in Illinois, and while my car was being repaired from the accident, I had a loaner car with Wisconsin plates. I tell him, "Sir, I was going only about 12 miles per hour, and the limit here is 20. I wasn't driving too fast."
Well, you almost hit me and my son.
"Yeah, 'cause you stepped close to a moving vehicle. The only one putting you guys in danger was yourself." The jerk dad looks at my phone in the passenger seat and says,
I don't know the laws in Wisconsin, but here in Illinois you can't be on your phone while driving. I'm calling the police.
"I don't know their laws either. This car is just a loaner. I live here in Illinois."
Then you should know the laws. I'm calling the police.
Well, have fun with that. And with that, I just left. I know I probably should have stayed, but since I didn't actually do anything wrong, I wasn't taking his threat seriously. I went home and made some ramen to eat. As I was sitting in my dining room, I looked out the window and nearly choked on my noodles. The jerk dad followed me home. He was on his cell phone with a dispatcher and I thought I was screwed. About 5 minutes later, 2 cop cars with 3 police officers show up. I stepped outside thinking I was done for. The officers started to question the 2 of us. The first police officer asks, "OP, do you know why we are here?" "Yeah, I have a pretty good idea what you think you're doing here. But why don't you let me know?" "This gentleman called us saying you attempted to run his family over after you got caught texting while driving, and plus going way over the speed limit." My mind went blank for a few seconds. This jerk actually said that I had attempted vehicular manslaughter. My mind started working again and I said, "Sir, that couldn't be further from the truth. I was driving home from playing Pokemon Go on my phone when this man stepped close to my car while I was driving. My phone was on the passenger seat the entire ride home."
He's lying. He nearly killed my family. Arrest him now.
"Sir, calm down. We will settle this." "OP, what was this man doing when the incident occurred?" Suddenly an idea popped into my head, and right there, on the fly, the revenge started. He was walking with his family along the side of the road, carrying a young boy on one arm and holding a beer bottle in the other.
That's not true, you piece of garbage.
"Sir, control yourself. As I drove by them, the rest of his family went to the side of the road. But he actually stepped closer to my car. I think he got within an inch of me.
This is nonsense. He's just trying to protect himself.
Sir, if what he's saying is true, you could actually be arrested here, not him. Are you sure that's what happened? I'm positive. He got way too close to my moving vehicle, holding a child and a bottle of Miller Lite.
It wasn't Miller Lite. It was Budweiser.
Oops. He cut himself off and tried to backtrack, but it was too late. All the officers looked at him and he tried to defend himself. But then the third police officer said something I thought I would never hear a cop say in my life. Sir, have you had anything to drink this evening? The jerk dad, now very less confident.
No.
They moved him to one of the cop cars and gave him a breathalyzer test. 0.12%. Just over the limit. Gotcha, jerk. The jerk dad ended up confessing to them that I was right, and then he was arrested for public intoxication and child endangerment. He has to go before a judge to determine if he's a danger to his family. The officers asked if I wanted to press any charges, and I definitely said yes. Well deserved. Next story. We're going to court? Okay. The setting: United States, Northern Neck of Virginia. The situation: bought land and built a house on it. Back when my wife and I were much more newlywed than we are now, we hired ourselves an architect and went whole hog on having our cozy little dream home designed. While this was being done, we went shopping around for a parcel of land on which to have it built, which went quickly and easily. And we even got a pretty nice deal on a half-acre lot that was just far enough back in Asterix for us to be happy. But close enough to our jobs that it wasn't much of a commute. Best part of all? No homeowners association. There weren't any active back in that area because point blank, it was full of poor people back there. Dirt poor country types and working poor wage slave types. We made very sure with our lawyer that no previous owner had ever had the title amended to allow for any HOA nonsense as well. Because that's a thing some real estate developers like to do. They will buy up a property, get a title amended to force the membership of that property into a local HOA that they usually operate or are in cahoots with those that do, and then resell it with that as a new requirement for any prospective buyer to automatically agree to when they sign the title. Flash forward to August of 2019. COVID was just around the corner, but nobody knew that yet. Everything was at which passes for normal out in those parts, and my wife and I had since moved to a different location, but retained that property as one of our various rentals. It was our dream home for several years and we loved that place. Moving was tough. It was a good neighborhood out there and folks were very welcoming. Then a company that totally not named Ryan Homes or anything even slightly similar came in and spent some years buying everything up back there that got the market and pressuring folks into selling, which worked out for them only too well. And of course they gentrified everything. For 3 years and some change, there were massive amounts of the old being torn down and hauled out and the new being built up and sold. The HOA was built right in, because of course it was. Folks with money enough to throw down only badly built houses that looked nice from the front moved in one by one and two by two. Property values in that area skyrocketed. Property taxes skyrocketed right along with them, and more of the less poor people were forced to sell because they got taxed out of their own homes. My wife and I knew what was coming from the get-go. We knew those jerks from totally not Ryan Homes were going to come sniffing around our way, but not to try to buy us out, just to see if they could finagle, schmooze, or threaten us into joining the HOA they were installing. It was inevitable. Lots of information is public record. They knew we had money, and they knew we were living below our means by 2 orders of magnitude. They knew we clearly meant to be exactly where we were because we sure didn't have to be. They knew they didn't have a snowflake's hope in hell of pricing us out on taxes. So they tried nagging us to this and coming right up to the line on harassment, always to talk to us about joining the HOA. They failed. They got told by one expensive lawyer to find something else to do before we all go super busy helping them find things to worry about. And so they desisted for some years. Then my wife and I moved and got the property set up as a rental. Absolutely not Ryan Holmes starts bothering our tenants there. Both trying to get them to pressure us into putting the property into the HOA as well, as getting our tenants riled up with the most outrageous lies about what could happen if we, the owners, do not protect our renters better. My wife and I were livid after hearing about this nonsense, and so we got a hold of definitely not Ryan Holmes to let them know that this was our formal request that they stop bothering our tenants and that all further communications would be from our really expensive lawyer. They must have assumed we were bluffing, or maybe whoever was in charge of thinking that day didn't show up for work, because they just kept right on with their nonsense. It got so bad that they were even sending fake but convincing looking envelopes with eviction notices that, upon being opened, said, "Could be what you find in your mailbox one day," without our wondrous HOA, and containing information about the benefits of that HOA. We gathered it all up and got the tenants to talk to our lawyer and got the police involved to get the ball rolling on a harassment investigation. Another formal request to cease and desist was sent to Never Ryan Holmes by the very expensive lawyer, which they utterly ignored. I think they're guys that's supposed to come to work and think about things quite a long time ago. Maybe he never told anyone, maybe nobody noticed. Whatever the situation on their end, when my lawyer talked to their lawyer told my lawyer that their client was doing everything legally, and that if we wanted to pursue the matter in court, that was what we'd have to do. And so we did. I'm not sure what kind of lawyer magic my lawyer and his fellow legal demons worked on this front, but we were in court for 1 single hour when my lawyer and their 4 lawyers and the judge had a private talk after the preliminary hearing. Half-hour later and the lawyers from maybe Ryan Holmes come back into the courtroom looking like a quartet of cats that have been pissed on. My lawyer takes a seat beside me and says, "They are going to settle." And I was like, I didn't think we were that far along in this yet. What happened? And he said, they built 51 homes in County of Concern over 2 years. Every single one of them was inspected before close of sale by a real estate agent that never actually got around to getting her home inspector license. And that's how Was It Ryan Holmes the whole time paid me 10 grand to not sue them while they got bent over by the county and the state. What a bunch of idiots. Next story. Guy almost screws up my final year college project. He gets a call from a TV show tracking scammers. This happened about 8 years ago. I'm not a vindictive person and I wouldn't call this revenge. It is more of a karma story. It all happened when I was back in college studying applied computer science. When I started in college, I wasn't very good at it at all. But increasingly, I managed to pick up more and more. At the time, OpenStack released its first beta. Private cloud was in reach, and I wanted to set one up with some applications and on-demand computing as a POC final year project. To do this, we needed to get a server and a rack to store it so we could set this up. The college professor was a cool guy and gave us a 1-unit space for us to house the server. And now what I needed was a server. The project was due in 4 months, which gave us plenty of time to find a server. I posted an ad on a forum called Tweakers with a request for 1-unit server with 2 CPUs, RAM, and SATA hard drives. Most servers back then ran SCSI, which was expensive for high-capacity drives. Considering we were students, we were on a budget. I was contacted by a guy, let's call him Zan, who recycled corporate servers and basically said that considering we were students, he'd give us a good deal on a 1-unit, 2 CPU, 8GB RAM, and 2 SATA hard drive servers for about $500. The equipment was about 4 years old, but it was still a good deal. I wired him the money, and that's when things went silent. He had multiple excuses on why the server wasn't delivered. 2 weeks after wiring the money, sticker dropped from the package and the delivery service, unlikely but plausible. However, when asking for the track and trace number, he couldn't give it. Red flag. 2 weeks after that, he would bring it himself, but did a no-show. 2 weeks after that, he finds a transportation company to deliver the server. And finally, 1 week after that, received the server. Except the server wasn't as advertised. 3 units high with 6 drive slots, which I would have noticed as there is no way to fit so many drives in a 1-unit server. I know I should have asked for pictures or model numbers, but at the time I was glad I found something so fast. When I tried to turn the server on, no screen, no sound. These things make a lot of noise. I checked and tried figuring out what was wrong. We used to have an IRC channel where a lot of the senior students and alumni hang out, so I asked for help. One guy came down, he had a consultancy business where they set up whole server farms, and he confirmed the server was basically dead. I was stressed. I just lost almost 50% of my time, and we still needed to set the whole OpenStack up. Finding an alternative with no money left would be a nightmare. The guy felt sorry for me and called me the day after that he would be dropping by again. He showed up with a brand new server that had wrongly purchased and couldn't send back. He said they would probably use it as a test server in the future, but in the meanwhile I could borrow it for my project. In the end I cleared my project, got pretty good marks too, but I still had spent $500 on an expensive paperweight. I had tried contacting him before, but he went silent. I thought I lost my money and the only take back was a hard-learned lesson. I didn't know what to do, so in the end, I gathered all my email trails and sent it to a website that basically goes after scammers and runs a TV show about it. I didn't expect much to happen, but figured if there is more people that get scammed by this guy, they may have something to look into. Within 24 hours I got an email back from them saying they would look into it. A day after I get a call from a very panicky Zan telling me he got contacted by people from the show. It didn't dawn on me that his business may not have been fully legal and that national television attention may not be something he wanted. He was asking me to drop it, giving me some sob story about how he needed to buy Christmas presents for his daughter, and that he didn't have money left. While I felt sad at first, it dawned on me that the guy tried to screw over my final year project, which could have meant me not graduating. Now I get another email from the TV show people that considering it's a small case, they couldn't spend much time on it, but that they would try and help me get my money back at least. Another day later, I got an email from the guy he would wire the money back to me if I sent back the server. Considering it is a 30-kilogram machine, that will be a costly affair, so I told him to come and get it or pay for return shipping, which he refuses. After another week, the people from the TV show contacted me again to see how things were. I told him again what happened, and in the end he wired the money and told me to keep the bricked server. In the end, I donated the case to another student that built a NAS with it. Not sure what happened to him after that. His profile on the forum had a lot of other angry reviews and hasn't been active since. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.